what? I knew something was going to be.
I told you I'd be back. All right, welcome. It is the Football Roundtable. I'm from the Couch Sports Talk Radio. I am your host, Sean. I am joined tonight, as usual, by Dave and a special guest star, KD. What's going on, my brother?
Hey, I'm special, but I ain't no fucking guest.
I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to Dave.
Oh.
Well, animosity, brother.
That's all good, man.
All right.
Glory.
Okay, so go ahead, Katie.
Oh, no, I was just saying what's up. How y'all doing?
Well, we got 2 viewers already, so we are rocking. Hopefully Eric's watching. He'll come on so then we can get Jeff on too and listen to a little.
Jeffrey's got the flu. Jeffrey is down for the count.
He lives in Florida. How the fuck can you get the flu in Florida? I can see syphilis. Not the flu.
You don't know Jeffrey.
And he's in Tampa of all places. So
that's true. He's probably gonna grab a gator out of his pool and do something stupid with it. Like
got the swine flu, maybe.
Okay. So last week we got through weeks 1 through 9 of like the games you have to see. Now some things have changed. We're gonna get into the schedule in just a little bit, but we have to talk about the news of the last 24 hours and holy shit. I'm gonna start this off with saying that no team has ever been to the Super Bowl for 5 times and lost all 5. I think we're about to see that with what just happened. I think we're about to see that this year. So we got to talk about the Myles Garrett, Jared Verse trade, and I have thoughts on this, and I want to know your guys' thoughts. KD, what are your thoughts on this trade, the Browns and the Rams?
Absolutely love it. Here's the reason why I love it. And I'll start with the Rams first, right? The Rams are showing people like, hey, there's different ways to run your business or your organization. You don't have to be in love with first-round draft picks because people keep telling us the whole time you need to have first-round draft picks in order to go win the Super Bowl. And the Rams are saying F those picks to the highest power, and they've been successful. We can say what we want. They have been successful. Now, is that because of, the brilliance of Sean McVay and surrounding himself with guys in position spots that should be coordinators? Because let's be real, they have had some success when it comes down to younger coaches going on and getting coordinator spots. So the Rams are doing it right when it comes down to, hey, look, we are going to evolve as the times are. And we don't sit here. We're not going to sit here and say, "Hey, look, we want to pound our the table for this first round draft pick when that first round draft pick could flop." Right. The other part is we don't have to pay them. We don't have to pay them buku amount of money. We can just pay them, whatever it is they're worth at that particular time, and then get off of them and not lose a beat. The other part to this is to the Cleveland Browns. I like this for them because they get off of that contract, and then they essentially get a chance to go be competitive. Now, where the hesitancy comes in is how much leeway are you going to give Monken? Are you going to give him 4 years to get it to where he wants it to go? Because I think Monken's a really good coach offensively, but what are you going to pair him with defensively? This is where, again, we talked about before the season, came back into the season. We talked about Schwartz not being retained. I think that's where they dropped the ball because again, you need a strong defensive coordinator with a strong offensive mind to be competitive in this league. Without it, you just wait. It's just a matter of time before those particular discrepancies come back and hurt you. Because if you look at a team, hey, if we can't move the ball, passing the ball, at some point somebody's gonna stop your run, and then now they're gonna force you to pass. And now guess what? It's January, and we can't win that particular game because we are one-dimensional offensively. Same thing with defense. If I can't stop the run, teams are gonna bludgeon you at some point, And then now it's like, oh, shoot, I wish I would have done this. So, but I'm excited for it. I would love to see Myles Garrett go and do the same thing he's done in Cleveland. But I don't think we're gonna have the expectation of him getting 23 sacks again. I don't think that's not fair. Because I think the Rams are not going to do that. And there's no way Todd Monken didn't know about the trade. There's absolutely no way. Like if you're sitting here telling me, hey, I'm going to trade your most prized commodity in that franchise since he's been there, and you had no kind of at least a small inclination of what was happening, the Cleveland Browns are more screwed than we think they are, like organizational wise. Like I'm being honest, because it's
not a stretch, Kenny.
But it's like your head is going to be on the chopping block if this thing is not successful. I will want to let you know about every personnel movement that we're at least thinking about. I really doubt that the Cleveland Browns are that jacked up to where they wouldn't say, "Hey, look, we're at least contemplating it."
I agree. I think Mike can know, but I got to tell you, there are a few general managers in this league, and Les Snead and Howie Roseman are two that play chess while everybody else plays checkers. Here's the deal. This trade was probably discussed in March. And the sticking point was Jared Verse. For a long time, the Rams were afraid they wanted to give up more draft picks than a player. The Browns basically told them if any trade were to happen, Jared Verse had to be involved in that trade. So good on the Cleveland Browns for getting that value. But more importantly, everybody can stop wondering why Ty Simpson was drafted at pick number 13 for the Rams. They were giving up their first-round pick next year, and Matthew Stafford is not going to be a Ram next year. This is his last year. Ty Simpson is going to be the quarterback of the future because this year you pay Myles Garrett $8 million. Next year you're going to be paying him $40-something million. And you can't afford Matthew Stafford at $55 million and Myles Garrett at $40 million. This trade was coming together during free agency before the draft, and it was consummated on June 1st. Because, quite frankly, the writing's on the wall. They signed those two cornerbacks, the all-pro cornerback from Kansas City. They made the trade and got the other cornerback from Kansas City. This defense is ready, and what people are finally starting to talk about, which would just be out of this world. Aaron Donald can unretire tomorrow, and that defense, that front, and that secondary in LA, unstoppable. If you have Myles Garrett on one side, Aaron Donald on the other, and they still have all pros within the interior line of that defense. I mean, it was chess to the maximum. It was a beautiful game of chess, and Les Snead did it fantastically because here's the deal. Those guys that they have, the first rounders that they did sign, the players that are going to be up for contracts, Puka, all those guys that they have that they came out 2 weeks ago and said, we're not going to negotiate contracts this year. There was a reason why they weren't going to pay these guys this year because they needed money for Stafford. They needed to get their financial situation in order, knowing that Myles Garrett was coming in. Or possibly coming in. And then they had to put their financials together to see what next year was going to look like. So that's all of the things that they talked about now make total sense. And it's everything that was going on behind the scenes that we didn't see. And they're brilliant. It was a genius move. And I don't necessarily think it was bad for Cleveland. Number one, they get the draft picks. They get Jared Verse. But more importantly, and this is something that you got to understand. Regardless of what Deshaun Watson does, regardless of whether Deshaun Watson has a phenomenal season and is re-signed in Cleveland to a new contract, the money that Deshaun Watson is on his final contract, they cannot do anything with the dead money that is going into the future against Deshaun Watson. That money, if he's $40 million against the contract next year and $36 million against it the year before or the year after, and then $15 million the following year, no matter what he does, that money is all tied into the Cleveland Browns salary cap for the next 3 years anyway. So yeah, so they had to shed contract because they're also going to have guys that they're going to have to re-sign and be able to sign to field a competitive team. So they had to lose a contract somewhere. And then they got value in the picks and the player in Jared Verse that when his time is due to restructure his contract, they'll be able to pay him.
Okay. First of all, I believe Deshaun Watson's contract is up this year. This doesn't go out beyond this year. So who cares?
No, but my point is, Sean, is because they pushed his contract so far, he still has dead money on that they have to carry over for the next 3 years. Okay. So even if he's gone, they still have to account for that money in the salary cap.
Wow. That's a big bleed right there. Okay, so my thoughts on this, I like this trade for both teams. Obviously, because and the Rams have drafted in the first round like once in the last 7-8 years. They're like, fuck it. We don't care. Maybe that's where a lot of teams need to be. Because let's face it, teams don't draft with the shit. Real quick, Anthony, was this in play before Garrett signed that big deal? No, it wasn't.
I will say that the deal came in play the minute they restructured his contract to make it worth what it's worth. That's when it was in play. Yeah. Before the draft, but when free agency first started.
Okay, so let's go back to this whole thing where Cleveland wanted multiple first-round draft picks for Myles Garrett. That's reasonable. I mean, this is a generational talent. Could you ever replace this guy? No. I mean, it takes someone very special. But they got a first-round pick in 2027, second-round pick in 2028, and a third-round pick in 2029. But they also got Verse. And I'm going to argue that's like getting 2 first-round picks, a second, and a third-round pick, which is huge. Because Verse was even though he was drafted in the first round, if he was a bust, it would have been. This kid is good. Is he Myles Garrett good? In some statistics, he's better, but not in overall. Myles Garrett is just a special person. So anyone who complains like, "Oh my God, Cleveland got fleeced on this," no, they didn't. They're going to get 2 first-round talents, and as we all know, and as Katie said, you don't know who you draft in the first round if they're going to be a superstar. There's been plenty of guys drafted first overall, second overall, third overall, all the way up to 32nd overall, who people thought were going to be amazing, and they were complete busts. So if I'm Cleveland, I at least know that one of my first-round draft picks, being Verse, is a hit. And he's not going to get into Cleveland, and he's not going to be down and be like, they have a young-ass roster. And if they can develop these players they've gotten over the last couple of years, Cleveland could actually be something special.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the Clevelandness of Cleveland. It's kind of like the Jets. The Jets.
Again, the biggest thing, Sean, is going to be, like you said, the biggest key to the success of Cleveland and New York or any of those teams. Number one is finding a quarterback, but more importantly, it's going to come down to like coaching. I don't know how Todd Monken's going to be as a NFL head coach. So that is going to be, for me, the key. Now, we saw what Aaron Glenn was as a head coach in the first year. Again, he was devoid of a lot of talent, so I'll give him a pass, I guess. But coaching and surrounding yourself with coaches who can coach up the players and do that, it's gonna be the key. That will definitely be the key, is the coaching and what they can bring out of these players.
Yeah. And Anthony, in the last 8 years, the Rams have traded all their first round picks except for 2024. Yeah.
Jared
That was it. So, and yes, I will stand by that statement. I always stand by my statements. Anyway, okay, so we're going to move on to the next one because everyone's heard all this stuff and we've already talked about this. But we're going to move on to this was supposed to be the story of the week was A.J. Brown going to the Patriots. We all knew it. We all knew it was coming for months. So A.J. Brown goes to New England. Philadelphia gets a 5th-round pick next year. And in 2028 gets a 1st-round pick. And the key is that the Philadelphia Eagles can break up the dead cap hit on A.J. Brown over 2 years versus $30 million 1 year. They can break it up to 15 and 2. So again, a good deal. I don't think that A.J. Brown was happy in Philly. My question is, was this? Well, I think it was the best move for Philly because they just had a disgruntled player. KD, your thoughts?
It's a little more to it than just disgruntled. It's some personal stuff going on when it comes down to the Eagles players. I'll leave it at that. The players and some activities are going on. So, but for me, here's the deal. Like I understand why this move happened. I don't think it's going to be long. It's going to be beneficial for both teams long term. I just don't think it. And here's the reason why. You have to replace him in Philly, right? And then with the Patriots, is Drake May really the guy? Because everybody say that after, we know that, 1 year, guy can be all world because that's his first year playing, right? The other thing about it is, can he replicate that type of season again? I know he's not going to get it to exact numbers, but can he get close to those numbers every year? Because if not, now guess what? Now you getting the same thing in New England that you got in Philadelphia. You're getting the same exact thing because that player is not going to change who they are until they realize they have a problem, and some of them don't realize it until they're out of the NFL. Oh no, hey, look, 80% is too low.
Yeah, I'd go 150.
Yeah, and that's not only the only player that he has some beef with. So right. I'll leave it at that. But for me, yeah, you move on from a player and whatnot. But you tell me when it comes down to this, has the issue been fixed with A.J. Brown? And the answer is no. So my question is, when that happens in New England, what's going to be the fix?
So Anthony, in case you haven't heard, there was a report. Okay, I will say there was a report, and I don't know this for a fact, but it was a report that A.J. Brown was upset because Hassan Reddick, the linebacker, was messing around with A.J. Brown's side chick. and AJ Brown went to Jalen Hurts and asked him to intervene and talk with Hassan Reddick. And Jalen Hurts basically said, man, I don't want to get involved with your crap. I'm concentrating on trying to win a Super Bowl. Okay, so AJ Brown took exception to his quarterback not having his back, and that started the rift between AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts. So basically, the last 3 years, this has been going on, and it finally got to a point that that's what had happened. That's the story. I don't know if it's true. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying what was reported by an outlet. And if I'm not holding it to gospel, and I could be completely wrong, but that's what was reported. So if that helps you in any way understand AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts, that's what the story of the big blow up was that had occurred. But again, I don't. But let me just say about the trade. I don't know. To KD's point, I don't know if I have 100% trust in Drake May yet. He had a good year. Wasn't anything spectacular. He was consistent. I don't know how much this moves the needle. Again, do you get a bump a little bit in the beginning because a guy might be excited to go there? Sure, but if things start falling off the rails for the Patriots, does AJ Brown go read a book? Does he go sit on the sidelines and pout? The player is the player, and so we'll see. Sean, your thoughts?
He's with Vrabel again. He liked Vrabel, and then the whole thing went sideways because that idiot GM. So I don't. I think he's going to be happier. There are certain athletes, and I hate to use the word prima donnas, but there are certain athletes who just, it's like being a lead singer in a band and you think that you made the band and you're better than the band when the rest of them are making the music and all you're doing is singing, which is big, but it's not the whole thing. It's like AJ Brown, Antonio Brown. That's what I meant to say. So, I'm hoping he's going to change. I don't think he will. And I think a lot of the Patriots went to the Super Bowl last year. They had an easy ass schedule last year. Like the easiest in the NFL.
They had an easy ass schedule from the beginning of the year through the playoffs. I mean, no, I'm saying their road to the Super Bowl was a 5th place schedule. Yeah, I mean, even through the playoffs.
Right. And
they didn't have a great defense, Eric.
Hurt his foot.
Eric, they didn't have a great defense. Oh my God. They did not have a great defense. They played a 4th place schedule. Their defense was mediocre at best.
They had a good defense.
And
they've gotten better. But do I think they're rising to the caliber? Do I think they'll make the playoffs? Probably. Do I think they're going to go far in the playoffs? I don't think so. But, then again, my prediction, which I'll wait till a little later because this is going to crush David's soul. But anyway, it is.
That's all right.
Great team. I think your Bills are going to be the first 0-5 team ever in the Super Bowl. Because if they go up against the Rams, I'm sorry, you're fucking done. Anyway, if the Rams stay.
Sure.
All right, let's talk about some other crazy shit, which is absolute. Oh, here he comes. Hang on, Eric.
Oh, God.
Hello, sir. What do we need to hear from you?
Summon the devil, and the devil appears. Right, the devil. So, hey, listen. We're still on New England, right? It took me a second to.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Okay, all right. Listen, are they? I don't think I said last year, which is why New England won the AFC. Is there a bunch of dominant teams in the AFC where anybody stands out apart and one team's way better than the other teams? No. Anybody from New England to Buffalo to, Baltimore to Pittsburgh, anybody can win in the AFC. That's the glorious about the AFC. Now, looking at their depth chart, which I showed the other day, New England is a better team they were last year.
Yes.
Now, what's that? Go ahead.
I said yes, they are a better team than they were last year.
Yeah. So are they going to repeat with a tougher schedule? Maybe the schedule played some but when you get to January and you're playing games in the playoffs, and you beat teams and you find a way to win, it doesn't matter if you win 13-6 or 33 to 20. You're still winning games, and so they're not. Nobody's an elite team. There's no elite team, and I don't really think there's any elite quarterbacks. But they are a good team.
Who did they beat in the first round of the playoffs last year?
Didn't they have who was the first seed?
It wasn't New England.
Okay, who'd they beat in the first round? I bet a long day. Chargers. Okay, are not a bad team. They're a good team. They're in the playoffs. Okay.
No, the only reason they were in the playoffs is because Patrick Mahomes got hurt.
You can say that about any.
And the rest of that AFC West was god awful.
The Chargers had a good defense. And by the way, they had such a good defense that the Ravens hired their defensive coordinator, right? Mentor, that's where he came from.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on.
That makes no sense.
The Ravens did hire him, didn't they?
That makes no sense. They had a good team. They had a great team or a good team so much to where the Ravens hired their defensive coordinator. That makes no sense. The Ravens have always had a defensive-minded coach.
Yeah, and Chargers had a good defense.
Good defense don't mean you're a good team, Eric. There's a whole nother side of the ball that we're not even talking about yet.
Yeah, if it was just defense, then your Steelers would be in the championship every year. Oh no, not last year. They were not very good, but they're going to be really good this year. But just real quick. Real quick. So I think the Chargers are decent. Their Chargers are another team that figure out some offensive things. They can make a run and win the AFC. That's not a team that's out of the realm of possibilities. Now they went ahead and beat Denver, right? They went ahead and beat the Texans, who the Texans are the best defense in football until proven otherwise. Now they're awful on offense, but they're another team that figures it out, can win the AFC. So long story short, you win the games you're supposed to win. You get to the Super Bowl. It's hard to get to the Super Bowl. Ask Josh Allen, who has never gotten there. It's hard to get there. So you got to give them credit for where it's due. You can't just say, well, the regular season, they played a bunch of cupcakes. They won when it mattered.
I'll give you that. Look, you're right. You don't pick your schedule. Your schedule is what it is, and you have to win the game. So I'll give you that. But they didn't beat the Texans in the playoffs. They didn't have to play the Texans in the playoffs. Wait, no, they did. No, they did. They played them in New England. That's right, they did.
Yeah.
But they beat Jared Stidham in Denver by a field goal, and they should have lost that game had what's his name, Sean Payton, made the right call. But besides that, you're right. They beat the teams that they had to beat to get to where they did. I don't take anything away from the fact that they went to the Super Bowl. And this is the thing that I've said for as long as we've been doing this show. Every team wins in March. Every team wins at the draft. You put a team together. It's how they play and how they come together when it counts. Okay. It's not just the players, it's the coaches, it's doing that. Okay. And it's like, so you have to see from year to year. Could they have gotten better on paper? Absolutely. But it's paper. It's how they all fuse together and come together as a team. So maybe they did. Maybe Mike Vrabel's offseason will have a galvanizing effect on that team and they'll play for their coach, or maybe it'll tear that team apart. I don't know.
That's where you hit
gotta
it.
See what happens.
That's where you hit it. Vrabel, the level of coaching and his focus, right? Football is such a fine line. Okay. There's a fine line between making grapes and smashing grapes and making wine, right? Tomlin say that all the time. And I don't hate Tomlin now that he's gone. He said some wise stuff. There is a fine line. Okay. So if he's not locked in, if he's not focused, if he's not where he needs to be, if he doesn't have, where he's mentally sharp enough, he should step down and let somebody else come in there, because he could cost that better roster a playoff spot because he could not be as sharp as he needs to be. So that's exactly right. That's the key question in New England.
Sure.
All right. So we're going to move on here. Oh, holy shit. This just in. Myles Garrett has been traded back to the Cleveland Browns from the Rams for their first, second, and third round picks for the next 8 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about something even more utterly ridiculous. Odell Beckham Jr. got signed by the New York Giants, and New York Giant fans are going crazy. Who gives
For
a
real?
shit?
Did this really happen?
Yeah.
2 days ago he signed with the Giants. Who gives a
they signed they signed Odell Beckham, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Braxton Berrios.
Yep.
Man, it's 2018 all over again.
Yeah. Does anyone give a shit about this or think it improves the roster in any way, shape, or form?
Juju's going to ball out.
The fact is, the fact is, I think it can help Jackson Dart in one area. They don't think Malik Neighbors will be back until October, November, and they need targets. They need wide receiver help. Now, we all know Odell Beckham Jr. is not Odell Beckham Jr. of the past. He's been on many teams since the Giants to prove what he was, and he wasn't. But be that as it may, it's not earth-shattering. It's not, oh my God. Yeah, the story is Odell Beckham Jr. is going home, and that's where he'll finish his career because nobody else will want him after this. And does he find the fountain of youth and maybe have a good year or half a year or whatever? Could, but probably not. So it's really not earth-shattering.
Okay. Well, thank you for wasting those 3 minutes, David. Let's go on to the rest of the schedule talk because I don't think there's anything major that we have to talk about. We can cover it in a couple weeks.
Did we talk about Herbig real quick?
Who?
Nick Herbig. Did we talk about?
Go ahead. You can. Go ahead.
4 years for $100 million?
Who is that?
He's not a bad. He's an outside backer, and he's not bad, but that spells the end of Highsmith or TJ Watt for sure. I happen to think TJ Watt could be the next guy traded here.
Mike?
I think the next person traded is Max Crosby.
It's the end of both of them.
Go ahead, Katie. Tell me why.
It has, unless you're not going to pick Joey Porter Jr.
I think Joey Porter Jr. is coming back.
Exactly, right? So unless one of those guys come back on the team friendly, I think it's the end of both of them, which I don't see because if TJ is continuously in top 10 in sacks, why would I take a pay cut? Especially if it's not for the we'll win a Super Bowl. And if I'm Highsmith, I'm sitting there saying, hey, look, man, I've been the glue at times. Yeah, albeit it won for a whole entire 17-game season, but I've been the glue to help you close out games. So why am I not getting that particular lump sum of cash? So I just feel like if I'm them, I'm sitting there saying, hey, look, I got a serviceable guy in Herbert. I got some young guys in the interior. Why not sit and say, hey, look, let me look for the next best pass rusher out there? Yes, of course, they're not going to be to the wide caliber type of player. But if there's any team that has taken a young pass rusher and said, hey, look, I can develop you into something that I want you to be. Case in point, you already have him on the roster. The guy from NC State. What's his name?
Peyton Wilson on the inside.
Peyton Wilson. There you go. If you develop him and Herbert could be the next two that you're going to lose.
Yeah. So
way, And then that way, now you sit here and say, look, yes, we're going to maximize the time that you guys are here, but I'm not going to break the bank on something, especially if I can't count on you collectively in certain times of the season.
See, this is to me. This is the perfect time to me. If Pittsburgh were ever to think of moving T.J. Watt, this is the time. And I say it like I say this because Pittsburgh has whiffed year after year after year on a quarterback. The 27 class is loaded. Get rid of TJ Watt, get a first-round draft pick next year, and hit your quarterback. Get the quarterback of your future. Okay, if you've locked up Herbig for 4 years for $100 million, okay, you lock up your young defensive guys, you let your aging guys go. I think you can get a first-round pick for TJ Watt. Obviously, he's still good. And hit your quarterback. Take as many shots, but hit your quarterback, because I'm telling you, that is the key in the NFL. You can have the best defense in the world. You can have the best whatever. You need to hit on your quarterback. You can't keep signing 35-year-old and 40-year-old quarterbacks and expecting a different result. The time is now to do that.
I think so, Dave. And I would say, I would say, okay, Watt and Highsmith are probably going to get traded, but not with Aaron Rodgers on the roster. It'll be after the season. I don't see him. If they wouldn't have brought Rodgers back and it would have been Will Howard, yeah. I mean, I just see we're trading, we're dumping them. Hayward's gone, but I think at the end of the year, I think Hayward's going to retire. I think Rodgers will retire, of course, because he said that this is it. And then I think you'll see that transition. I think this may be Watt's last year, and what trade value they get for him will be dependent on how productive he is.
Well, and that's the thing is, do you take that risk of letting him play this year and then hoping your trade value is going to go up, or do you trade him now when you can probably, based on Myles Garrett, based on what Trey Hendrickson got, based on the fact that Baltimore was going to give up 2 first-round picks for what's his name? Do you try to strike while the iron's hot where you're getting premium assets for a defensive end? Or do you say, well, we'll let him play 1 more year, and hopefully he plays at this high level, and hopefully this defense is this, and then we can cash in? Or do you say, you know what? Nick Herbig is going to be great doing what he's doing. He can be our TJ Watt. We got other guys on the defense. Let's move this guy now and secure the number 1 pick, as opposed to hope we get it after the season.
Well, the one thing you're missing is the dead money. The dead money's you can eat it next year. Right now, it's a huge cap hit if they trade him.
But after June 1st, you can spread it out over the length of his contract.
Yeah. We'll move on real quick. I just want to say I saw Deshaun Watson's dead cap hit today, just for the fun of it. $86 million next year, boys.
Yep. That's why Myles Garrett got traded.
And that's why they have a young roster. They ain't paying their shit.
Yep.
So anyway, before we move on to the schedule, because we got to get moving here, guys. It's getting late. But I just want to remind everybody that Pittsburgh, for the 6th year in a row, still has the highest paid defense in the NFL. And they still suck. So, okay. We're going to go on here.
We didn't pay him to say that, Eric.
No, I do this for free because I love our fans, and thank you all for watching. Okay, so week 10 of the schedule, these are games to watch. I got Baltimore at the Chargers, Chargers at Baltimore. Now, this is where we're going to see 2 teams who could be really good or could be very shaky. And I think at this point, it's going to come down to one of these teams is making the playoffs. The other team isn't. Whoever wins this game, could come down to it. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh at Cincinnati is always a good game. Cincinnati could make a great run this year, considering the what's happening in the AFC North. San Francisco at Dallas. That's going to be a great game. New England at Detroit, and Minnesota at Green Bay. So what do you all think about those games? What is there one that points out to you? Do you see another one on there?
I mean, yeah, you highlighted the ones that I think will garner the most attention. I do like that some of them, because like the Dallas and the San Fran game cannot be overlooked, especially if we're thinking what CD and George Pickens are going to be going into year 2 together. And if we think they can continue to do what they've been doing, I really probably want to tune into that game and see what it looks like, especially with San Fran adding Mike Evans to the fray. So I believe that game should get a little bit more love. Not so much to be flexed to Monday night or something like that, but I wouldn't be against it if they flex that game with the Steelers and the Bengals kind of leading into it. Because again, at the end of the day, like with Pittsburgh and the Steelers, we know that's a division rival. They're gonna be a good game. They should be a good game. The only good game we don't really have in our AFC North is when anybody play the Browns, unless it's like the Browns are just on some crazy stuff that particular afternoon. But for the most part, the games against the Bengals, the games against the Steelers, and games against the Ravens, they're always a good outing. So, and then if I'm looking, the Detroit and the Patriots game could be interesting, because if both of those teams have improved like we thought they have based off free agency and the draft, that's going to be really, really, really interesting. Because, again, if we think the Lions have improved with their offensive line like they have, and we think the Patriots have improved with their offense as well, I wouldn't be surprised there wouldn't be a shootout. And it's an early morning game. So,
yeah.
Real quick here, why don't we just skip the Patriots-Lions game and just set up an octagon in the middle of Detroit Field and have Vrabel and Campbell just go at it?
I would be with it. You know what? WWE is all in the NFL's business, so I wouldn't be against any of this. Hey, look, let's get them a quick theme song, both of them, and let's bring them out, and then let's do it. So
now, I will say one thing about this game, the Lions-Patriots game. It's going to be interesting because, and why I say that is, this is the kind of game where, Eric, your love for Drake May can either be proven or disproven. And I say that because Detroit's secondary is not the strongest aspect of their team. So you've given Drake May more weapons. You gave him A.J. Brown. He's got Romeo Dobbs, Williams from last year's back there. So Booty's there. So this is the kind of game that I can look at New England and say, is Drake May for real playing a weaker secondary or not? And so I think this is one of those games that it's going to be Drake May's got to prove against a weaker secondary that he can rise to the occasion. So I do like this game. And for you, Sean, I do like, not for the team visiting, but I do like the Jets game. And the only reason I like that game is by week 10, we are going to see what the Jets are in terms of their rebuild, not because of who they play, but I think you might be seeing your rookie quarterback debut week 10.
Possibly.
For you.
Yes, possibly. But
right.
Who gives a fuck?
Man, I'm so out of it because, I had a great day today. But the Jets rookie quarterback, refresh me. Who did they draft here?
Klubnik.
Oh, no, they're not going to see. No, no offense. He's just the latest of a long line of who. No.
Okay, well, thank you for nothing, Eric.
Eric, you cut out. Get your feedback.
Okay, so
Your
he's
sense.
out. All right, let's go on. Okay, now this next week is the most uninteresting week. Like, if you are going to plan, you have to do something on a Sunday in the NFL season. Week 11 is it. So if you have to put a new roof on the house, you have to do anything. There is no interesting game in this that I could possibly see. And if you
I
see
think
something, yeah, who, what?
I like Indianapolis at Houston. I mean, you're writing off Indianapolis.
Yeah,
You know, they were good last year. Daniel Jones will be back. Now you're going to find out if they were
they're going to be
for real
0-7 by that time.
Hey,
Huh?
hey, real quick,
Whenever-
I dropped the video for a minute, but that we moved on. But that Carolina Saints game, that Carolina Saints game the week before, in that division, because nobody runs away with it. Both teams could not have a great record, but be in the division hunt. So the week before, that Carolina Saints game could be very interesting because both those teams could be, 5-5 or 4-6 and in the hunt. So, and this upcoming week, Sean, I disagree with you. There's a bunch of good games. One, Baltimore's going to Carolina, who probably will be in the hunt in the division. Okay, so I mean, Baltimore's the favorite, but Carolina was competitive last year and better.
Jesus, my goodness.
Going down Tampa Bay, Detroit, same thing. Tampa Bay probably is not going to have a great record, but going to Detroit, both teams probably in the playoff picture. Right. I mean, so there's some decent games. Pittsburgh always struggles with Philadelphia. That'll be a interesting game. Philadelphia probably has the upper hand. And then the Commanders will probably be better than last year with the Bengals.
Oh my God!
I like the Vikings at Minnesota, or I like the Vikings
at Minnesota. Oh, that's a game and a half, brother.
Yeah, you know what I meant. I like the Vikings at Frisco. I think that's going to be a pretty good game for Week 11. Shut up. You know I do this once a show.
Dear God, man. Okay, so anyway, if you need to paint your nails, paint your house, do whatever, do it Week 11. This is something you can like pop in every 20 minutes and just watching Red Zone and just see who the scores popped up on the side. It's nothing. We're going to move on to Week 12.
This guy's a Jets fan. Every week he can do that.
Hey, it's a great week for fantasy, though, if you got the teams that are favorites.
There you go. That's true. All right, so then we got Week 12 here. I got Baltimore at Houston. I think that's going to be a great game. Buffalo at Kansas City, of course. And we should have Mahomes back by that point. That's going to be crazy. Chicago at Detroit. Philly at Dallas.
The entire Thanksgiving day is going to be great.
That's the best Thanksgiving schedule I've seen in a long time.
Of it all. The Black Friday, everything. Rams, Green Bay at Rams, and Chargers at New England. I still think New England's going to be struggling at this point. Chargers are going to be struggling at this point. It's going to be awesome. This is probably one of the best lineups we've ever had. I can't wait to cook and drink and be passed out by the time I'm done with the turkey. So,
hey, that Tampa Bay Carolina game.
Yep.
Yeah, I just think that the NFC South is going to be 9-8, 9-8, 8-9, 8-9, and I think it's going to be just a tiebreaker.
There's a lot of intrigue with that.
Yeah, but of course,
I do.
If any injuries happen,
like that. Yeah, I mean, I like it. I really want to see. I really want to see if Bryce Young continues to develop, and has gotten over the first 2 years of his career, and he's actually starting to come into his own. I mean, they got the young wide receivers. McMillan was the offensive rookie of the year. They drafted Chris Brazil. I think the one thing about Carolina, which I think is going to suffer, is their running game, because last year Rico Dowdell helped that running game out a lot. They didn't have to rely on Chuba.
Sure did.
But again, in Pittsburgh, he's going to suck. But besides that, you knew I wouldn't let you go like that because I know that's what you were talking about, Eric. But no, in all seriousness, I think the one thing Carolina is going to have to do to continue to maintain where they were last year is they have to maintain a running game. And so we'll see if they do that. If James Brooks finally comes back and is healthy after his knees have been destroyed for 3 years. So we'll see if that helps. But yeah, Carolina, Tampa is definitely going to be an interesting matchup.
Here's a very interesting thing on the schedule. So I don't look at a week by week thing. I look at the weeks stacked up with each other. So the week before, Baltimore goes to Carolina. So now Carolina has Tampa Bay on the road. So that game with Baltimore and Carolina even has even bigger implications, because Carolina could be, with a 9-8 winning the division, going down a slide, losing to Tampa Bay and then losing to Baltimore the week before. They might have to have that game with Baltimore. Now Baltimore is the favorite, the better team, but that Carolina-Baltimore game is going to be really interesting. If the game was in Baltimore, I'd say Baltimore beat them 45-0. But I think that's going to be a very interesting game the week before, just because of the stakes of Carolina having to go to Tampa Bay. And, Baltimore then has to turn around and go to Houston. Those are two very interesting weeks for those teams.
You literally are a walking contradiction. you literally just said, like, not even 7 minutes and 52 seconds ago, this division is a fucking toss-up. So it's either it can't be both, buddy.
Yes, I agree.
You cannot. So if it's a toss-up, the Baltimore's game has nothing to do with their division. Because newsflash, I can lose every game out of the division and win every game in the division and still what? Win my division.
Not win the division. You're not going to win it with 6 games.
Yes, you can. What are you talking about?
You're not going to go 6-11.
Okay. So explain to me. Okay, hold on. If you're sitting there saying every team is sub 500 in that division, how can you win the division if you don't win your divisional games?
You get to 9 or 10 wins.
You can't get to 9 or 10 wins without winning games in your division, buddy.
I know, and I just think, Carolina's going to have to go to Tampa Bay, which could be a tough game. So they're going to have to get to 9 or 10 some way. So they can't afford to be dropping home games.
Yeah, but my thing is, if you say that, I think that's the perfect game. That if you're talking about that Baltimore game being important for Carolina, I think, and not because Baltimore's bad, I'm saying that if I'm Carolina, I'm looking past the Baltimore game and focusing on my division game. So I don't care, because my division and my conference matter more to me than beating Baltimore in a non-conference game.
Is Baltimore looking past?
That's the fifth one down. But okay, so let's say they're both looking past.
Yeah.
Baltimore is the more talented team. So even if they both look past those games, because they're both outer division, outer conference, Baltimore, just on talent alone, if they're both looking past, should win that game.
Okay.
So that's all I'm saying.
We got to move on, guys. We're already at the 1 hour time limit. We're going to bust through.
No, just keep talking, Sean.
Okay, so we got week 13. Buffalo at New England. That is going to be a must win at this point for both teams.
For New England.
Jacksonville at Chicago. Huge. Dallas at Seattle. That's going to be a good game. Houston at Pittsburgh. We're going to see how the best defense in football, or maybe second best at that point, plays against the highest paid defense in football. Kansas City at the LA Rams. Now, if Kansas City doesn't come out and start winning some games early without Mahomes, and they get back in here, this is where shit can get real, and they can be out of it by this week, by week 13. And the game that should be flexed to Sunday Night Football this week, because they can finally start flexing, would be the New York Jets on their bye week.
Wow, that's a late bye week.
Yeah. And it ain't going to do a shit. So anyway, any comments about any of the games? Because like Thursday night, that's huge. Chiefs and at Rams.
Well, again, I think any game with the Chiefs that is going to be huge is going to be dependent on how long Patrick Mahomes misses at the beginning of the season. I think if Patrick Mahomes gets back in there by week 3, I don't think it's as important. But if he's not back in there till week 6, I think it could become extremely important. And so that's where my determination with Kansas City lies, is how long, in fact, is Patrick Mahomes missing the beginning part of the season? Are you talking about a Chiefs team that was maybe 1-2 to start, or 0-3, as opposed to a Chiefs team that's 1-5 or 0-6? Okay, and I'm not saying that even with Patrick Mahomes even though Patrick Mahomes doesn't play, they're going to be 0-6. But I'm just saying that possibility with Justin Fields as your quarterback is very real. So, and we don't know about if the NFL is going to do anything more to Rashee Rice after he violated his probation. So, again, we'll have to see.
So let me summarize this real quick. Dave is a Justin Fields hater. He does not believe in Justin Fields, and he thinks he's going to be terrible. Okay,
I do.
So all right, moving on. At least you won't be disappointed in your Jets this week, because they cannot possibly let you down on this week.
Fuck it, they'll probably have their fucking. This is what the Jets are going to do. Fucking Geno Smith is going to be playing pretty good, and he's going to go and get in the shower. He's going to slip, and he's going to fucking break his leg, and it's going to be over. Okay, that's the with Jets. Real quick, David, just your comment about the Kansas City. Okay, so this is their first 5 weeks. They're Denver at home, Indy at home, at Miami, at the Raiders, and then a bye. So if Mahomes goes back by week 6, I really don't give a shit who you have.
They'll either be 2-2.
No, they're gonna be 3-1.
I got 3-1.
Even with Justin Fields, will be 3-1.
I don't know. I mean, look at don't count the Raiders as an easy victory. I mean, Kirk Cousins is going to be their quarterback.
The Mendoza.
And they got a revamped offensive line. They kept Max Crosby. I'm just saying, I don't believe in Justin Fields. I've seen him play for 4 or 5 years, and he sucks. He sucks. He's awful. He's an awful quarterback.
The Raiders have sucked every year you've been alive except one.
The Rich Gannon year.
I don't understand. I'm just trying to figure it out. Like, look, I just don't get it. But
I don't believe in Justin Fields.
Yeah, but the Raiders got to show me something before I believe in them too. Like, I don't care what you revamp and what you go sign, you got to show it to me.
Well, I get it. I'm just saying. But I'm not going to sit there. Here's the one thing I do know. This is what I know. And I know that Justin Fields is not an NFL quarterback. That I know. I know what I get with Justin Fields, which isn't very much. So when I look at it, if I just take the two quarterbacks, I would take Kirk Cousins 100 days out of 100 over Justin Fields.
Can I comment real quick? Real quick. This
Please.
is what drives me nuts about you and Jeff when I argue with you guys. Katie makes a great point when talks about you guys show it to me. That's why like the Cleveland stuff. You guys always Cleveland, Cleveland. Show me Cleveland because I never get it. But then then the next thing you guys do is you talk. Well, the quarterback, the quarterback, the quarterback. There is more than just the quarterback. And I get it. In a playoff game, the quarterback makes the weighty plays, makes a good difference having an elite quarterback. But in a game with two teams that aren't great yet, which Kansas City with Mahomes isn't great, and a game the Raiders aren't great until you show me, aka Cleveland, it comes down to, the skill guys, the lines, all the other different elements of football. There's more to football than just a quarterback. Justin Fields went 5-1 with Pittsburgh. He can go 5-1 with Kansas City. It's not impossible.
Maybe.
All right.
I'll believe it when I see it.
All right. Let's move on to the next one. Week 14. Games to watch. You got Buffalo at Green Bay.
Great game.
It could be, but honestly, I'm not holding out a lot of hope for Green Bay this year. Sorry, Annie Yeager. Looking good, man. Tannen, whatever. But
God, if she'd married me, man, I'd be a happy guy.
What?
She's hot. She's hot.
Sorry. Hey, so we're sorry. We apologize for this guy at the very, very bottom. We don't know who he is. He's some rando.
We got it. He likes A's. He's like on the Annie or Allie train, either one of them, and he's fine.
Hey, yeah, prescribed to Let's Go Brownies. That's a great show. She's the reason.
now without Myles Garrett, you can stop watching that show for a couple of years. Anyway, so then we got Kansas City at Cincinnati. That's going to be a huge game.
That's going to be an awesome game.
If Cincinnati is who we think they are, that's going to be the big one.
No.
Pittsburgh at Jacksonville. That should be a good one. And then Rams at San Fran.
Ooh.
If San Fran is going to be who we think they are, that should be a great game. And then Minnesota at New England. I know Bailey is huge on Minnesota. I think they have a lot more trouble going on in that building than it's not even what they led on to. Even the quarterbacks are kind of fucked. But that could come down to be a huge game for both franchises. Okay, games this week. What do you guys think, David? Quick, 30 seconds.
All right, I like the Minnesota game because I really think that Kyler Murray's going to have a great year this year. He's proven it. If he has talent around him and he has the right receivers around him, he can get the ball. I mean, when he played with DeAndre Hopkins, him and Hopkins had chemistry, and he might be a small dude, but if he gets outside the pocket and allows Justin Jefferson to have the freedom to run, and like I said, I think the best kept secret, or not secret, but the best signing they made was signing Jawan Jennings from San Francisco. He was a number one receiver, and now you got two plus Jordan Addison, and you got T.J. Hawkinson on that team. That team's going to be scary good in the NFC North.
Katie?
Yeah, I'm going against the grain here. I'm intrigued about the Falcons and the Browns game at this particular junction. I want to see which coach is going to have their guys ready to play. Because both of these guys have potential to be laughing stocks, or they could be the surprises of the season. So,
okay, wow, that's an interesting take, Eric.
Yeah, Browns are going to be the surprise of the season. Forget it. Maybe in a couple of years, but that team is going to win 3 games. So the game that interests me the most are 2 division contenders. Right in the middle of that, Katie's already kind of hit or already known this is coming, but that Tampa Bay Baltimore game is very interesting to me because one, Tampa Bay is the division favorite late in the year where wins are important in December, and Baltimore is a division favorite. And that is the game is in Baltimore. It's a warm weather team coming up. Baltimore should have the advantage, but I think that's going to be a slugfest. I think it's going to be a low scoring fight. And Baker Mayfield against Baltimore. Let's never count out Baker knows Baltimore. I like that matchup a lot. I think it should be a good game. I'll probably be tuning in and definitely eat my popcorn on that one.
It's actually a very good take, Eric. I agree with you a lot of time, but that's actually a game that I would not consider watching, but it could be very interesting at that time. I think they're both going to be struggling to go for division. Okay, so we're going to go on to 15. So here we go. We got Baltimore at Pittsburgh. That's always a good game. We got Chicago at Buffalo. These two teams are going to come down to this is going to be must win for both of them. Not so much for the Bills because they're going to run away the division, but for Chicago. Dallas at Rams. That's going to be huge because I think Dallas is going to be in a run for the playoffs. They'll lose the first game as usual, but that's where we're going to be looking at. Detroit at Minnesota. That's going to come down to it. Jacksonville at Houston. New England at Kansas City. San Francisco at the Chargers, because I think this is where the Chargers get knocked out of the playoffs there. And Seattle at Philly. That is going to be huge because I think that's where Seattle gets knocked out. Let's go from bottom to top. Eric, you first, KD, then David.
I think the one I'll say spend 30 seconds on, New England, Kansas City. So based on my, deep dive into the AFC East this year, I think 11 wins the division. And I think New England is certainly capable of that. I don't think we're going to have a 13-4 or 14-3 team. I don't think any team's going to run away with it. I think New England's got a tougher schedule. But if they can clamp down and beat Kansas City and win some games they're not supposed to win, they can get to 11 games. They can win the division. I think this is a make or break division game for them. I think they lose it, I think they're 10-7. I don't think they make it. But if they win, I think 11-6. I think they can win the division.
KD, go ahead. What do you got?
Yeah, this is where Baltimore distances themselves from the rest of the division. They have to win this Steelers game. If they don't win this particular Steelers game, they basically set up their season almost identical to what happened last year. So they have to be licking their chops and say, hey, look, this is the game we got to have. And for that reason, I think this Baltimore versus Pittsburgh game is probably going to be a game to watch this week.
I love it.
See, now, I'll say this, Sean, and, I wish I shared your optimism. I'm a Bills fan, but I got to tell you, you're as a Bills fan, you're taking a defense that you've known for 9 years and you're flipping it. You got to make sure that you have the horses to play this defense. And
Yes.
whenever you switch defensive schemes, there's an adjustment period. I would love to sit there and share your enthusiasm about Buffalo. And offensively, I have no issues. I have no worries. They have Josh Allen. Josh Allen has made receivers have career years. The problem is, the thing that people need to understand is because of the Bills' defense being different, you knew what you had with Sean McDermott. You don't know what you have defensively. And it could be a help because teams that have played Buffalo and have studied Buffalo defensively can look at Sean McDermott's defense and then say, I don't know what Buffalo is going to give me now. Or you can have a defense that doesn't have the horses that suit the defense you're trying to run, and it can be a shit show. So I'm not going to sit there and say Buffalo's running away with the division. They're going to be 13-4, 14-2, or 14-3, or whatever. You know what I mean? So all of these games at Buffalo, I am intrigued to see how Jim Leonard utilizes the personnel that we have and the people that we've drafted and have gotten in free agency. And I want to see this defense evolve. Do I think it can be good? Yes, I do. But I'm not going to sit here today and say Buffalo can just run over the AFC. Offensively, I have no issue because it's the same offense, a couple different cast of characters, but pretty much all the same. So I don't think 30 points a game is going to be an issue. I think it's what the defense can do to stop the other teams, and that's where I have my concern.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on. We got 16, 17, 18. Let's blast through these. So week 16, you have Buffalo at Denver. Let's hope Josh Allen doesn't fumble on that one. Green Bay at Chicago, which I thought was going to be better, but now I'm kind of backing off. I'm kind of down on Green Bay right now. You can all comment if you want. Jacksonville at Dallas. Houston at Philadelphia. Now we're going to see where Philly is, because I am a little shaken with Philly right now. I think they have a good team. I don't think they have it where they need it to be. San Fran at Kansas City, because by then San Fran should have Max Crosby on the roster. And Rams, this is the first time, week 16, this is the first time Rams and Seattle's play. Rams at Seattle. That's going to be fucking huge. KD, first thought?
Yeah, I think the games on Friday are going to be the better games. And the reason why I say that is because I think there's a lot more to be had when it comes down to those particular games. Because we know, like the Rams and the Seahawks are almost, you want to put them right there as shoe-ins for the NFC Championship. You just do. Because they're a complete team. They don't have a lot of weaknesses. And then they adjust like crazy week in and week out. And then the Bills and the Broncos it's super intriguing because is there a sour taste in the Bills' mouth for how it ended in the playoffs? Because going into the playoffs, there was a cloud over Josh Allen's head like, hey, if not now, when? When are you going to get to the Super Bowl? And I'm just wondering how much of that is going to be a motivation to not only get back to the top of the throne, but right their wrongs with the Denver Broncos. And if there's a battle for, even if it's not the top seeding, just better seeding, I think these two particular games could be, on paper, type of bloodbath type of deal.
Eric.
Okay, I think Buffalo, that schedule is tough. And so, just game after game, it's going to be tough. And you can't just score points and win games. You got to be able to win games 24-20 more than you're going to win 31-28. It just doesn't happen that often. Football is a game of winning in the 20s, typically, week to week. So I'm with Katie on the Friday games. I am interested in that Kansas City-San Francisco game. Draws my eye a little bit. And just because the intrigue of the 9-8, which 9-8 team wins the division, Atlanta, Tampa Bay is intriguing to me as well.
Now, so I got two games, and I'll say the first one real quick. That Carolina-Pittsburgh game is intriguing because, where Carolina's at, Pittsburgh could overlook them, and, they might not be up to par. Isn't that what you tell KD about Carolina and Baltimore? So
100%.
You got to watch that. You got to watch that. So
I agree.
I know. I'm just kidding, Eric. But no, really. See, Buffalo and Denver intrigues me, and this is why. Because this is where I'm going to see if Jim Leonard's a really good defensive coordinator. He came from Denver. He's going to probably run the same type of defense in Denver. I want to see if Jim Leonard adjusts his defense to play against Denver, or if Vance Joseph adjusts his defense to play against Buffalo, because these are going to be two teams that from a defensive standpoint are going to be running very similar offenses. And this is where I think you're going to see what I talk about when I say coaching matters, and which coach is going to be able to throw wrinkles and add wrinkles that the other team isn't going to be either familiar with or ready for. And this is where I'm going to say, is Jim Leonhard ready to take that next step to that next level of elite defensive coordinator, or does he still have a lot to learn? And that's what intrigues me about that game.
All righty. We're going to go into the last 2 weeks of the season here. This is where crunch time happens. Games. Week 17 to watch if things play out like we think they will. Baltimore at Cincinnati. This is going to be huge. Maybe they'll both be running for the division title. Maybe they won't. Detroit at Chicago. That's going to be massive. Baltimore at Cincinnati. That's why I already went over that one. I'm sorry. Denver at New England. That's going to be a huge game. Houston. Sorry, what happened there? Houston at Green Bay. Big game. Kansas City at the Chargers. This is where we're going to see which of these teams, honestly, either one of them could fall out way before then. Maybe it's a game to watch. Maybe it's not. And then we got Philadelphia at San Francisco. Okay, thoughts, David?
Well, like I said, I think the one thing about the Houston-Green Bay game is this is where you're going to see if C.J. Stroud can rise above and play quarterback in the cold weather. He's small. He's got smaller hands. I mean, he hasn't looked good the last 2 years. And this game, to me, from a defensive standpoint, the Texans are built for this type of game. And whether that could be absolutely horrendous, but is their quarterback, who may have to go on the road depending on where they finish in January or early February to play in an AFC championship game or so on and so forth, that they have to go to a cold weather place. If CJ Stroud can handle the elements. And I think this game right here is going to be a huge test for that Houston offense to see exactly what they're made of, especially going into the playoffs.
Okay, Katie.
If I had to pick a game, a lot of these games are seeding games. They may not be divisional games, but they're also seeding when it comes down to their conference. And one of the ones that sticks out to me outside of the obvious division games will be the Rams and Bucks. And the reason why the Rams and Bucks stand out to me is because they went to war with each other for seeding and even in the playoffs. And I just felt like this particular game would almost be a must-see TV, especially because you're going to get the Baltimore and Cincinnati game, so you don't have to flip back and forth. And then if you're intrigued by, seeding, that particular game, and then the Eagles and the 49ers are the other one. Because I just feel like this is going to really shape how the NFC is going to look when it comes down to their seeding. So,
all right, Eric.
So, based on all the tea leaves I'm reading, and I'll try to be quick, and I'm not going to try to be a hater. I'm going to try to be honest. I have concerns about the Lamar Jackson contract situation. I have concerns about the interior line of the Baltimore Ravens, and I feel Cincinnati got better on the interior D-line. And so this is the point of the season where if Baltimore, things aren't going well, where he could get beat up, and if they're starting to slide, where he could check out. So I'm extremely interested in this Ravens-Bengals game because, one, are the Bengals for real? Did they make enough adjustments on their interior D-line? And are they going to be a good team? And two, do the Ravens have enough on the interior offensive line? And can Derrick Henry save the day again with all the miles on his tires? Because ultimately, that's what it comes down to with Baltimore's offense. At the end of the year, they still don't have the weapons on the outside unless they go and make a trade, which they can go get a good receiver. So is Derrick Henry, can he carry the load? Can he be the dude? Can he be the 1,800-yard back? with the losing everything they've lost in the interior line, can some of those young linemen develop quickly? And has Cincinnati done enough on their interior defense to make up for the poorer levels in the second, third level?
You have 30 seconds, Katie. Go ahead.
We can't be this serious. We can't. You said, do they have enough outside? I have one receiver on my roster that has more production than both of your guys. But
Odell
you said
Beckham Jr.
the other part about it is, so you're basically saying, hey, somehow, some way, the Steelers wide receivers, their young wide receivers are going to maximize their potential, but none of the wide receivers on the Ravens are going to maximize their potential in a Declan Doyle type of system. If you look at Declan Doyle type of system, he spreads the ball around. Yes, you're not going to have a 1,500-yard receiver, but I can almost assure you everybody's going to get their fair chance to be to contribute to the particular offense within itself. The next part to it, you're not paying attention to what is happening when it comes down to the run game of the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens don't need Derrick Henry to have 400 carries, man, to be successful. They don't. The threat of Lamar Jackson within itself, they feed off each other. So when it comes down to that, it's like, hey, okay, look, if you have this particular type of schedule, because this schedule, let's be honest, this schedule looks like the Patriots schedule of last year. So if the Ravens go in and beat the teams they need to beat early on, they set themselves up for a showdown with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this is where their schedule will basically say, hey, look, if you're that good, show it to me.
All right, Eric, 30 seconds rebuttal.
Yep, 30 seconds. I'll be quick. So again, it's the interior offensive line that worries me the most. Two, Pittman and Zay Flowers being more productive than Pittman and DK over a time period. I'd have to look at the numbers. He is the best of the three of them last year, but certainly I don't think he's got the highest ceiling of the three of them. So, and I do have concerns about the weapons on the outside. I think they do need to make a trade for another bona fide, legitimate number one receiver. And I'm using DK, and I'm not even considering the Alabama receiver yet. Now, granted, I think he's going to work in the slot, but 400, 500 yards and getting first downs isn't like, hey, I'm saying he's going to be a 1,500-yard guy. He's just going to get first downs. So, I don't know if the interior offensive line and the Mars injury history, because he's not a guy that plays every game, every season, is going to hold up. And that's why Derrick Henry is going to be the key. They're going to have to run the ball, and they're going to have to get the ball out of Lamar's hands. He's another year older, and he's a guy that gets banged up a lot, and he's in a contract situation where he's not going to want to put himself out until he gets what he wants.
Your quarterback's ancient, and you're talking about quarterbacks getting older.
But Aaron Rodgers, how many seasons he played? He doesn't miss a lot of games. Look at Lamar's history.
The whole season. He missed
the
whole
one season.
So hold on. I want to ask a question, and then I'm going to let Sean move on. So I want to ask a question. So being there is better than not being there, even if you suck. Throwing no touchdowns, having 200 yards, it is just as good as not being there.
What happened last time Lamar won?
Can I just answer the question? Yes or no?
I repeat the question.
So not being there, because this is your argument, not being there versus being there, having 200 yards or 190 yards, no touchdown, and an interception is better than not being there.
It depends on the production of Huntley.
It does not depend, because at the end of the day, you still lose.
Huntley's pretty good.
You still lose.
He can come in.
Go ahead, Sean.
All right, you're all fucking idiots. So, that's all I have to say to you. Like this is why, like, every so often I get tagged, like, at everyone in the fucking chat, and I log on there, and I have to have them summarize it with AI, and it's like Jeff and Eric are acting like children, and they're being very immature in their discussion, and this is what I deal with on a daily basis. Okay, so we're gonna go on week 18. This is where, like, oh my God, it's supposed to happen. Oh. There's only a couple games here that I think are any good. Maybe Pittsburgh at Baltimore. That could be it. But honestly, I think both your teams fucking suck this year. I don't think either one of you are getting close. I think Cincinnati runs away with it. And I think this game is just for shits and giggles, and we're 9-8 in the division.
Does Mike McCarthy start off his Pittsburgh dynasty of going 9-8?
No, Mike McCarthy is going to go 8-9 and have the first losing season in 18 years. So then we got Chicago at Minnesota. I think this one's going to come down to it. I think this is going to be for the NFC North. I don't think Detroit has it this year, and I don't think I don't think Green Bay has it this year. Then we got Chargers at Denver, and I think this closes out and Denver wins the division. Chargers, warm weather team, dome team in a shitty fucking weather game at Denver. Then we got Detroit at Green Bay. This is going to be I don't think either one's going to be playing for anything, but it's going to be nasty because it's Detroit and Green Bay. No Barry Sanders here. And then week 18, here we go. We got the Seattle Seahawks at the fucking Rams. This is going to be the game. This is going to be the Sunday night flexed game. This is going to be it. So otherwise, the rest of the games, I don't think anyone gives a shit about.
Can I ask you all a question?
Please.
Okay. With the Rams offense and the Rams defense, if the Rams defense is as good as advertised, and let's just say Aaron Donald decides to come out of retirement, which would fucking be insane. But let's say he does. Just that question for the group. Do the Rams have a legitimate shot? Everybody stays healthy. Do they have a legitimate shot of going undefeated?
No.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
You got to understand, right? So, like for instance, the coaches in the league see what's going on. They can say what they want, but they pay attention to who's coming to town, who they're going to see, right? And as you have a 0 in that column, the loss column, that game has to be circled. Whether I'm a 3-14 team or I'm myself a 14-1 team or whatever it may be. So when it comes down to it, case in point, the Rams against the Panthers, was it 2 years ago or last year?
Might have been last year, I think.
Nobody thought Carolina had it in them to go shock the world. And I got it, albeit the elements played a part of that or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, it happened, right? Mm-hmm. So when it comes down to that, I think those type of games are still are capable of happening. So with that being said, I just feel like, again, as you start to go keep that 0 along your particular loss column, now teams that, hey, I'm out of the playoffs, I want to play spoiler. Or I may be looking at this particular game that I didn't think I could win. Now let me drop a game plan to really show my guys, hey, look, all is not lost within the season because we beat one of these particular teams that we looked at that was one of the powerhouses of the NFL.
I get it.
To answer your question, David, no. The Rams to have to go undefeated, no.
Okay.
It's ridiculous to even think of that way. If you actually get to a point where it may be possible, then I would say think about it. But it, as Katie said, like last year with Carolina, Rams should have won that game. We were looking for a bloodbath, and they just got torched. And that's going to happen. And that's it. They're going to have a great team.
Sure.
And my biggest thing is if they can stay healthy.
Yeah, no, obviously. I mean, that's every team. I mean,
yes.
If the healthy is the important thing for any team. I mean,
Correct.
That's not just the Rams. It's every team.
Yep. Eric?
Yeah, so the Rams aren't going undefeated, so we don't have to worry about that. And in fact, I think Seattle's still overall the better team. I think the Myles Garrett move is is a desperation move to get the same way a lot of the Steelers move with Rodgers. They're trying to get Stafford into the Super Bowl here before this runs over. Just like they're trying to have one last hurrah with Rodgers. It's build around an old quarterback, go get a couple superstars and try to win it all. I still think Seattle's the better overall team. If I had to pick a game on the schedule, it's obviously that Pittsburgh-Baltimore game is going to be important. It always is. I don't know if it'll be for the division. I don't know if either team's running away, and I'm certainly not sold on, some of the changes on Mike McCarthy until I see it. I'm sure it's not sold on Lamar Jackson, the contract here. So there's a lot of intrigue on what's going on with both those teams. I think the Rams-Seahawks game will certainly be division. And my last thing I'll summarize is it'll be not the Lions and the Packers for the division. It'll be the Bears and the Vikings. Vikings will be a team that'll surprise this year, and that game will be for the division.
And I'll just say the last team that I would look at here, and I know, Sean, you're like, fuck that, they're terrible. The Jacksonville Jaguars Indianapolis Colts game could be very important in Week 18.
Absolutely, and I am not closing the door on any right now, but I think that Daniel Jones isn't going to come back in time. I think they're going to be fairly poor.
Who's the Colts backup?
Riley Leonard.
Rivers?
Oh, my God. Riley Leonard. Here's what's going to happen, boys. Mason Rudolph is going to save the day in Indianapolis, and the Colts are going to go to the playoffs with Mason Rudolph at quarterback.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, just like – and I'm sure Anthony Richardson will have to come into Pittsburgh after Aaron Rodgers gets concussed Week 1.
Don't curse me with that, Ricky Bobby.
Don't you put that shit on me, Ricky Bobby.
It's like you put your penis in a meat grinder every time you get out. Okay, well, with that being said, does anyone have a last word? Because we're 32 minutes overtime.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That was fun.
Okay, well, with that being said,
we are good.
Please like, notify, subscribe, and share to our podcast. Oh, what's going on, Katie? What are you doing here? What's this? What's going on, Katie? You're freaking me out.
It's nothing. It's my bullshit Pittsburgh take.
Oh, and hey, just one thing that we didn't mention earlier in our news. The Atlanta Falcons signed Drake London to a 4-year, $141 million contract extension worth up to $150 with $100 million guaranteed.
God, these guys are getting paid.
Sounds like a Stefanak team to me, man. They should have paid $735 million over 4 years guaranteed to fucking.
Wide receivers are catching up to quarterbacks pretty quick.
This just in: the Falcons have traded for Deshaun Watson and agreed to eat his entire contract.
Exactly. That's where I was going, Eric. Thank you. All right. Well, that being said, thank you all for watching. We appreciate it. We'll be back in a couple weeks. We're going to try to do a new little thing with the show, maybe a little format, but it has been great watching you all. We thank you all for watching us. Thank you, and you all have a good night.